I once had the idea that I could get people to buy CDs in a different way. What about if every time you heard a song on the radio that you liked, you could call the station and buy the CD? I actually got it going, but I totally missed the internet thing. Right by me. I was head down and not looking at the horizon. Soon there were actually lots of ways to buy and steal music online, and there were lots of portable MP3 players too, but nobody had connected the dots. Then along came Apple, connected the iPod to iTunes, and bingo, turned the entire music field and world on its head. They made the process of buying music so easy and effortless that even today most people prefer to buy their music on iTunes and listen to it on an iPod. The digital landscape today is ripe for more of these upheavals. It's kind of like the Wild West. Big open spaces, not many roads, and you have to be packing a 6-gun. This is quite different to the way it used to be. For 40 years, from the mid-50s to the mid-90s, give or take, the media and marketing world was stable. You could have a somewhat predictable career. Agencies and media companies were big, dependable companies, and employees and companies were making good money. It was possible to understand how all the pieces fit together. The internet changed all that. Now nobody really knows what works. We're in this transition period between old media business models and new ones that haven't been figured out yet. It's very unstable. Companies like Facebook and Hulu and Twitter are reinventing things, but they can't figure out how to get anyone to pay for it. The idea that ads would pay for everything hasn't panned out, and so far, people have been unwilling to pay for content directly. At the same time, traditional media companies, newspapers, TV networks, and the like, have been really suffering. I used to do a lot of work for radio stations. Actually, what I did was create TV campaigns that advertised radio stations on television, which I know sounds very confusing. But I watched the whole radio industry just sit there as internet radio and amazing services like Pandora, which I love, started to blossom. Then satellite radio came on the scene, and radio placed its collective head even more firmly in the sand. I'm sure the horse and buggy people did exactly the same. Now, 12 years after I first looked at that computer screen and saw television, the whole media and advertising world is turning interactive, except today we call it digital because it's hipper. Whereas a few years ago, it was a specialty, now it's at the center of everything, especially in the advertising business. Imagine it this way. If you walked into an ad agency in 1940, you were walking into a print agency, where the most important thing they did were ads for magazines and newspapers. If you walked into an ad agency in 1960, it was a television agency, where they thought up great TV spots. Well, in 2012, when you walk into an ad agency, it'll have to be a digital agency, because that's where the center of life is. On the content creation side, which I suspect a lot of you are interested in, the good news is that we're going to need lots of content. All these digital channels, the internet, television, and soon mobile, are hungry mouths that need to be fed 24/7. But now more and more people watch those TV shows and news stories online, and as a result, the economics have changed. The reason we have so many reality shows is because they're a lot cheaper to produce than dramas. So the nature of the content is changing as models shift, and this is something you really have to watch very carefully. The internet and now mobile smartphones are causing all the trouble, of course. And it's not just media and advertising that are being affected. And by the way, who needs advertising anymore? It's the companies, the brands, who pay for everything. How they fundamentally do business is changing. We've moved from the century where companies run things to the century where consumers run things. Consumers today use the internet and mobile to, and you know this, discover, explore, evaluate, compare, price, buy, and connect to everything. But most companies have been way too slow to see that, even though consumers are totally there already. In the next few years, there'll be no escaping this reality, even for the most backward head-in-the-sand companies, and this is going to have big implications for all of you. It means that the amount of work creating new websites, new content, mobile applications, content for interactive TV is going to skyrocket. While the early adopters are already putting a toe in the water, look out, because here comes the rest of the body. So the work is going to be there. but the jobs are going to be different. Gone are the days of the paternal company and the loyal employee, especially in our business. The relationship is much more equal, and that's a really good thing. The message here is that you're very much in charge of your own career, and that means you have some things that you must do. First, you need to, if you haven't done it already, start your LinkedIn account, your professional network. It's how you'll get your second job and your third job and your fourth job. It will be the network of people you meet along the way and who, if you're smart, you'll stay friends with over the years. You already understand social networking. This is career networking, and it's vital. The point is that you need to be the master of your own destiny. And that means not only having your network of contacts, but knowing how to stay valuable to who you're working with and yourself. Just like the news people who now have to write, shoot, edit, and produce their own pieces, you have to learn how to do it all. Growing up in publishing, I learned to write, illustrate, design layouts, and even sell advertising. Then when I started my own agency, I used everything I'd learned, plus I had to learn a whole bunch of new things. I even started directing. I didn't know how to do it, but I was the cheapest director I knew. I remember whispering to the assistant director, who was actually the most professional person and trained person on the crew, at my very first shoot, "So when do I say action? Tell me." Being a jack of all trades saved me a lot, sure, but it gave me a lot of confidence. I think specialization today can be a trap. If you're too specialized, your role may suddenly become obsolete. So it's important to continue to work on your breadth of skills. Never stop learning, even if it means burning midnight oil. Talking about midnight oil, I think you probably know ours is a business with a lot of it, so get used to it. Right now, I'd say we're about 40% through the shift to a truly consumer-driven market. Smartphones and iPads with GPS and all sorts of other wonderful capabilities are going to ratchet things up again in the next couple of years as everybody gets them. It's going to be very different, not only because of the technology, but even more so because of the shift in power to consumers. Forget Mother Nature. Don't even think of trying to fool the digital consumer. Between search and social media, we are all-knowing, all-powerful, and have the tools to find out the truth about virtually anything instantly. Consumers don't just have BS detectors today. We have BS Geiger counters. We can spot a particle of BS a mile away, and that means nobody thinks much about advertising anymore. We have no problem with a funny ad with talking babies in it. Just don't seriously try to sell us anything, because we're going to make our own minds up. But you already know this. You know this. Companies don't. You do, and that's an opportunity. You're actually really lucky to be starting your careers at this extraordinary time. Malcolm Gladwell makes the point in his book, Outliers, that when you're born actually turns out to be a very key factor in your success. For example, and I love this, 14 of the 75 richest people of all time, that's all time, including everybody, Cleopatra and all, were Americans born within a 10-year period, which made them exactly the right age when the US boomed in the 1860s. Same with the gods of the computer age. Bill Gates, Paul Allen, Steve Jobs, Bill Joy, and lots more, all born within a 3-year period. It sure helps to be in the right place at the right time. And the changes that are turning the marketplace upside down are exactly why this is the right time for you. In my life, I've watched the world go from print to TV to the internet and now to mobile. And the rate of change just seems to be accelerating. Everything is connecting to everything else, from touchscreen walls and interactive video wallpaper to wearable digital monitors and little RFID chips on every product we buy. It's all going to look like a Steven Spielberg movie before we know it. And whatever device or platform there is, you're the ones who will be designing and creating the content and the experiences that drive it all. You were all smart enough to take this course and determined enough to pass it. So you're already miles ahead of most of everybody else. So here's the advice bit. Just keep doing what you're doing. Embrace all this change and don't be afraid of it. Think like an entrepreneur and grab the opportunities. Be a jack of many trades and be master of your own destiny. I can't guarantee this will make you successful, but I can promise you a really good adventure. Thank you.